Hello and welcome to today's edition of Route 664, The Road to Human Kindness. I'm Les Winston. I'm the national spokesperson for socialsecharity.org. That's all about Section 664 and social security and how that can be used to change America and change the world. Last time we were together, I spoke about the problem of socio-political fracture and how we have to heal that using socio-economic healing, using economic changes to make the world a better place. And I thought the best guest that I could have on to discuss that with would be somebody who has tremendous experience in socio-political world and also the economic world. And this is David Walker, former Comptroller General of the United States. And he joins me right now. How are you, David?
With you, Les. I think you're probably a little bit warmer down there than we are up here.
Yeah, well, you're familiar with it. You're a Coral Gables guy.
That's right.
And, so you know what the weather's like here in sunny South Florida. The world is a crazy place right now, and I had an opportunity to read an article that you wrote in the Salt Lake Tribune with Barry Paulson about intergenerational fiscal inequity.
Right.
That's a mouthful. Intergenerational fiscal inequity. So let's break that down. Give me the skivvy on that.
Here's what it relates to, Les. Our current fiscal policy, where we are accumulating, we're running deficits in peacetime, in wartime, when the economy is growing, when it's not growing, whether we have a pandemic or we don't have a pandemic. So we're running $1 trillion deficits. We could be running a lot bigger than that when those other conditions exist. The result of that is that we have mounting debt burdens. Those mounting debt burdens will do several things. One, they'll reduce economic growth over time. Mm-hmm. They'll reduce opportunity over time. They'll increase the amount of the budget that will have to be used for interest. For every 1% interest, 1% interest rate increase, that's $300 billion in additional interest expense for which we get nothing. And the bottom line is that we're living for today with regard to the nation's finances, which is irresponsible, unethical, and immoral. And what it does is it places an increasing burden on, in my case, my grandchildren and future generations, because we're not paying our way. And we're expecting for our grandkids and future generations to be able to pay the price and bear the burden of our irresponsible behavior today. And that's just not right.
What is it? We're in an inflationary period. And what is what's the effect of this debt? And what do you think is the major cause of the inflation right now? What would you say?
There are several reasons. Excessive federal spending is one.
How does that affect it? How does that affect the inflation?
Because you end up increasing the supply of the supply of money. Okay, that combined with what the Federal Reserve has been doing, which is buying up almost all the new debt, which increases the money supply. All right, so you've got more money out there. All right. So that's part of the problem. The other part of the problem is we have labor problems. We have more openings than we've ever had for jobs, but we don't have people with the right skills. And so what's having to happen is, people that have skills are having to be paid more in order to be able to be attracted to the job and to keep the job. We have supply chain problems, which is caused by COVID, supply chain problems, if you will. And our energy policy is totally. We did 180
Is there an energy policy or is it a de-energy policy?
Well, we were energy independent,
right,
in a little over a year ago. All right, energy drives everything. It drives prices for everything. Just in the last day, our price for gas has gone up 10 to 20 cents a gallon in the last day. It's well over $1 a gallon more from a year ago. A year ago, A year ago, we were an exporting country, country for energy. Now we're an importing country for energy, including from Russia, which makes zero sense. All right. And so one of the things that we have to do is that we have to take a hard look and reverse course with regard to energy policy and recognize that, yes, we need to move towards a more green environment over time. Yes, we need to move to alternative energies, but that's got to be done over many years, and you have to balance economic and inflationary interest with also national security and environmental interest as well.
Well, I heard comments today about the fact that we're in an economic world, and that what we're seeing is really kind of barbaric in terms of where we are, where we need to deal with nations, with each other. We need to be able to trade. And you can't do that if you have a rogue country like what we're seeing right now with invading another country.
Well, a couple things. I mean, first on energy, then on Ukraine and that. On energy is a global market. There's no question. All right.
Right.
But we have reduced our supply, in other words, the amount that we are producing, significantly in the last year.
Right.
So if supply is down and demand is the same, then that means price goes up. But now demand is increasing. And now you've got a situation where we also have another disruption on supply because Europe is disproportionately dependent upon Russia for energy. That doesn't make any sense at all, from the standpoint of national security policy, all right, or economic security issues, all right. And now we've seen Russia has invaded Ukraine, another sovereign nation, all right. And I have to tell you that I think, the person who has had more to do with uniting NATO than anybody is Putin. Putin united NATO. And I don't think there's a chance that Putin is going to invade a NATO country. I think he's going to try to take Eastern Ukraine, depose the government for Western Ukraine, and maintain a buffer with that. But you can't allow that to happen. But the question is, what can we do about it? We're imposing economic sanctions, but we sure don't want to put our troops face to face with Russians when they have a lot more nuclear weapons than us and anybody else in the world.
Well, I think you're saying that we can do more economically if we use energy as a tool. Let me go back to the issue of the debt of the country, because it is a major problem for a lot of reasons. As you said before, the generational inequity and the fact that we're leaving a debt behind to our next generation. But one of the things we've talked about a lot on our program, and one of the things we're trying to get across, is we don't have an understanding of government spending and spending on non-governmental organizations. I guess that's called the discretionary money, discretionary part of the budget. Is that discretionary?
Well, let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, sure.
Other than for situations where you have a pandemic. So let's go back to 2019, fiscal 2019, which ended September 30, 2019. We weren't dealing with a pandemic then. All right. So it's more normal. For the year ended September 30, 2019, 71% of all federal spending was called mandatory spending, which means it's on autopilot. All right. That includes things like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and a variety of other programs. All right. 29% of spending was determined by the Congress every year. That's called appropriated funds. Okay. And shockingly, that 29% is down from 97% in 1913, and it's going down every year. And even more shocking is that 29% includes all of the express and enumerated responsibilities that our founders envisioned for the federal government. So the federal government has grown dramatically. It's promised a tremendous amount that created huge unfunded obligations, and it's lost control of the budget, which is one of the reasons that you referred to before. Utah has now passed a resolution within the last week calling for a fiscal responsibility amendment, which I've been advocating, and calling for a limited convention of states to be able to address that issue since the Congress has lost control of the nation's finances and has failed to act.
So the states have the power to take back fiscal control. Is that what?
Yeah, let me explain it real quickly. Article 5 of the Constitution is the provision that deals with how do you make amendments to the Constitution.
Okay.
There's two ways that you can make amendments. The old-fashioned way that we've used for all 27 amendments so far, 2/3 of the House passes a proposed amendment, 2/3 of the Senate, then they send it to the states for 3/4 of the states to ratify. But the founders envisioned that Washington someday could become so out of touch and out of control that the states would have to assert themselves. All right. And so it provides a second way. The second way is that 2/3 of the states, which is 34 states, can petition the Congress to set the date and place for a convention to propose amendments, not to rewrite the Constitution,
right?
To propose amendments. They then would end up meeting. They'd come up with a proposed amendment. It would have to go to the states for ratification.
What's that? What is that amendment that you're?
The amendment that I'm focusing on, that Utah and other states are focusing on, is called a fiscal responsibility amendment, and it wouldn't be a balanced budget amendment. It would be focused more on how much debt as a percentage of the economy are we taking on, to establish a credit card limit for the federal government. All right, and to establish a lower debt as a percentage of the economy limit that we would try to achieve over the next 15 years or so. All right. Because the way that we're headed right now threatens the future of this nation and threatens the future of many Americans.
So if we're going to if we're going to have some controls and we're going to limit spending, when a congressman is approached by a lobbyist to spend money on something that's non-governmental, what is the control there?
There's not much control right now, okay, because basically they're charging everything to the credit card. Okay, basically what this would do is it would set specific limits, and therefore they would have to make choices. And the first thing that they need to do is they need to examine what the government's doing right now, and they need to reprioritize what the government's doing right now. What is it doing that could better be done by the states or the not-for-profit sector? What is it doing that is not generating an appropriate return on investment? Okay. And it's not just a matter of the direct spending. We also lose $1.5 trillion in revenues every year because of deductions, exemptions, credits, exclusions. And the biggest so-called tax expenditure is the fact that no American pays income tax or payroll tax on employer-provided and paid health care. That's hundreds of billions of dollars a year in lost revenues. And yet, so we're subsidizing it when what's the biggest inflationary cost other than energy? Health care.
Right. And so if we, again, it seems to me that we need to be acting as a business, because we are, as a government, we are basically operating as a business in a lot of areas. When you're talking about raising revenue through these means of government or legislated, programs, that indicates to me that the government is actually a competitor in some ways with maybe with private sector, but it's not the role of government to do that. So how do you actually stop that? And is there a way? What we're getting to is, we think if you can subsidize through the private sector the public needs and eliminate the government having to support those when it's discretionary money, that we would end up lowering the budget deficit, and therefore we would maybe reduce.
Well, I think the bottom line is this: right now, they do not have effective constraints on irresponsible spending and unsustainable.
So that's your first step. Your first step is
an
amendment.
First step is the amendment to change. Make tough choices, right?
Yeah.
Right now we have something called the debt ceiling. We're the only major country on earth that has it. It's been a dismal failure.
It's not a debt ceiling. It keeps getting
No.
higher.
They just, what they do is they pass legislation, and then they have to increase the debt ceiling because, oh, gee, we already agreed we're going to spend all this money. And so what we have to do is recognize that we've got to substitute something else. I think the answer is debt to GDP, and it needs to be a constitutional amendment, because if it's not a constitutional amendment, Congress can override it with legislation.
Yeah.
And by the way, if they violate the constitutional amendment, they lose their job.
You got to put that in the amendment and make sure that it's got teeth. Okay. My
Correct.
guest is David Walker. David is the former U.S. Comptroller General under Clinton and Bush. And we thank you very much for joining us this morning. David, give us an insight into how the government should be doing things and make things a little bit better for everybody economically. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Les. It's always a pleasure. Take care.
Take care. So that's the economic side of our show this morning. I wanted to switch hats a little bit and get to my favorite topic, which is Chamber of Commerce membership and people who are supporting the Aventura Sunny Isles Beach Chamber of Commerce and who are members. And one of those members I had the pleasure of interviewing is one of the owners of MOs, very famous delicatessen there. And he joins us now in a previous interview. Now, my next guest is Paul Kruss. Paul is well known in the Aventura and Sunny Isles Beach area. He is a good friend of the Aventura Sunny Isles Beach Chamber of Commerce and the proprietor of one of the most famous restaurants in the entire area, MOs. And he joins us this morning. Good morning, Paul. How are you?
Good morning, Les. It's great to see you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to have a chat with you.
Yes. Paul, where did you were born in Florida, right?
No, like most Floridians these days, I was actually born in Caracas, Venezuela, in South America. But that's honestly one of the things I love most about living in the area where we live, is that it's just such an incredibly diverse community and accepting community, and people who really want to give back. They want to roll up their sleeves and make their communities better. And we come from all over the world. So we have a great mix of people and a great community, great weather, low taxes, lower crime. So that's why I think everybody's moving here from New York, from California, and everywhere else. Yeah, they want to escape well, you've been free actually in Florida, much freer than other places. For sure. But in any case, I think that your background with regard to MOs, I just wanted to let people know MOs has been an institution in Aventura for a while. When did MOs open? So MOs opened, MOs Bagels and Deli opened in February of 1995. So we've been around, we're going on our 28th year now. We actually opened our doors before the city of Aventura also was established in 1995, but a little bit later. So we were here a little bit before. So we've been around a long time. It was a deli, a couple of delis before, but it was never really quite successful. But my partner Mo, Hussein Mohammed, he's Egyptian American Muslim Arab who came here as a young man pursuing the American dream. He actually worked in several delis, including the iconic Pumpernicks. When he started here with several of the well-known Jewish families, and he was taken under the wing by the Zinn family and some of the others. And he started as a busboy and dishwasher, worked his way up, as I said, pursuing the American dream, worked at Bagel Cove. And then when the opportunity came to open up his own place, when this became available, he did so with a different partner. And he actually had a couple of partners. I joined them in February of 2002. So we've been together over 20 years as partners, which is interesting because you have a Egyptian American Muslim and a Venezuelan American Jew working together in a nice successful Jewish deli that does a lot of work in the community, and a lot of a lot of politicians go through here. It's like Ileana Ross-Layton and Enid Weissman, our mayor here in Aventura, call us the Versailles of North Dade, because we have so many, from Rick Scott and Charlie Crist and Marco Rubio and Ron
Right.
DeSantis. They've all been through here. And plus we have a pro-Israel pact that I am one of the leaders of, that brings in Congress people and congressional candidates, mayors and elected officials that support a strong U.S.-Israel relationship. So those are the kind of things that keep us going. And as well as we like to be involved in the community, with the local schools and the city and so on, giving back and being an integral part of it.
Well, your location, I mean, MOs is known to everybody as the meeting place, and that's what you're talking about is exactly that. It's a central hub of Aventura for any good deli patron. They like your food a lot, and of course they like to be able to be seen there. Actually, it's an amazing joining of purposes that you've created there in Aventura. And I know now that you're planning on doing something a little bit more where you're getting involved to do something more for the community.
Directly.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Thank you, Les. So, I've been very involved in the community. As I said, we don't really spend a lot of marketing dollars in doing promotion and advertising and TV and radio and so on. Mm-hmm. But what we do is the budget we have for that, we use to work in the local community, to give gift certificates, to give out food, like I said, to the schools, to nonprofits, charitable organizations, to our firefighters, and healthcare providers, emergency healthcare providers, like we did during COVID. Mm-hmm. And that gives us a lot of pride. And, we want to give back. We want to be part of this community. And I've also been very involved, particularly in the organized Jewish community, helping our seniors, those in need, and Holocaust survivors. That's very important to me. So I've been doing that for many years through many organizations like Miami Jewish Federation. I've been on the board of our local JCC, the Michael N. Russell JCC, Jewish Community Services, and other organizations. But, I've been a resident here in Aventura, a proud resident for over 30 years. So I figured, it's time to give back. So I've decided to throw my hat in the ring and run for commissioner for a seat for this Bob Shelley's term limited out. That's seat number 2 here in Aventura. And I think I can put in my 2 cents worth and give back to the community. And honestly, I have no further political aspirations other than to do my part to give back.
Well, that's obviously service is a very important thing. It's a part of philanthropy, and very important to the community to have leadership and people who are willing to step up to be leaders. And I can appreciate that very, very much. I understand what it is to be involved and give of your time and your effort. And believe me, there's not a lot of pay, and sometimes there's not a lot of gratitude from the people. But I appreciate it. I appreciate what you're doing very much. I think it's a really important part of service. And when is the election, Paul?
So the election is November 8th, I believe it said. So I'll be on the midterm ballot. Right. So when Governor DeSantis is running, and as well as many others, but it'll be on that midterm ballot. And I just want to say also that I know, Les, you've done a tremendous amount with the Sunny Isles Aventura Chamber of Commerce and many other organizations and institutions. And you have a lot to be proud of, and I'm proud to be your friend.
Well, thank you very much, Paul, and likewise. Thank you. I wanted to just get an idea of what your feelings like when you're doing all of these things in the community. We believe that philanthropy and giving back actually makes you feel better. And I was wondering, in the morning when you get up every day, what is it that makes your legs tingle?
Well, there's a lot of things. Obviously, first and foremost is family, my wife, my kids, and I have a brand new grandchild, a little grandson. Thank you. That's always very energizing. I like to exercise. I'm a runner for many years. I used to do marathons. But, as John McEnroe says, the older I get, the better I used to be. So I've slowed down a little bit. Yeah. But that's okay. I'm still out there walking and jogging a little bit. And it's important to do physical activity because it keeps you alert and going, not only physically but mentally. So that's good. But yes, I very much believe in giving back, in that, we're not placed on this earth just to take care of ourselves, but we have a responsibility, a big responsibility to help others as much as we can. After we take care of our nuclear family, to me, like I said, it's, I try to help in my Jewish community and to form a strong relationship between the U.S. and the state of Israel, which is really important to me. But also in my local community, in here in North Dade and Miami-Dade County in general. So I've also worked with a couple of groups of doing outreach in the African American community, with the Jewish community, because I think that's something that we really need to do now, is find ways to build bridges, because we're so polarized as a nation that it's really extremely important that we find our way back and understand that what unites us is much deeper and much stronger than what divides us. And we need to get leadership out there that believes in that and that wants to give back. And like I said, I just think that the more we have, and the as blessed as we've been in this community, in this country, the more we have, the more responsibility we have to give back and to help others and help our community.
Well said, Paul. Well said.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. My guest is Paul Kruss. Paul is the one of the entrepreneurs in the fantastic MOs Bagels and Delis in Aventura, and also is a candidate for the City Commission and someone who does give back. And certainly we appreciate our relationship with you as the Aventura Sunny House Meets Chamber of Commerce. Paul, thank you for joining us today on Route 664, the road to human kindness. You're a very important person on that road, and we appreciate your participating this morning and at all times. Thank you.
Thank you, Les, for giving me the opportunity to be with you on this great program, and thank you for all the great work you do with the Sunny Isles Aventura Chamber of Commerce, and we look forward to working with you closely for many years to come. Continued
Good,
success.
and we'll see you. We're going to see you on April 1st at a meeting at MOs. It's a breakfast meeting on April 1st, which is a Friday. And hopefully we'll have another special guest there at the same time. So we want the community to come out, and they haven't met you, which I doubt. But
yeah, it's okay.
I'm sure they want to hear what your thoughts are with regard to the city of Aventura. Thank you so
Wonderful.
much, Paul.
Likewise, Les. All the best. Continued
All
success.
the best. Take care. And that was Paul Kruss, and I want to thank David Walker, former Comptroller General of the United States, our first interview. And Moses is an amazing place if you haven't been there. I wanted to just wrap up today and let you know that we have a phenomenal digital radio station, Route664.org radio, Route664.org/radio. You can find it if you just put Route664, the road to human kindness. If you put that in Google, you'll get all the shows come up. And also I want you to listen for Classy Sunday at 8 a.m. with Mike Paxton, who one of the more knowledgeable people in the classical musical field. That is a fantastic program as well. Just Jazz with Les Haber. That's the Sunday show starts at 7 p.m. and then Just Jazz is at 11 a.m. and it's also replayed Thursdays this evening at 7 p.m. And then at 2 p.m., the Soulful Sounds of Steve Cole, Soul House music. That's music to clean your house by. The whole day is music to clean your house by. So if Sunday's your day of cleaning, you can hear that as well at 2 p.m. on Sunday. The Soulful Sounds of Steve Cole. And on Fridays, don't miss our own Adventures of Charity all day. And Osman Darwish is back with another chapter in our Heroic Friday series, the story behind the story of Josephine Baker. Great radio, and the music is phenomenal. Tune in, Route664.org/radio. We'll see you again next week. Thanks a lot for joining us.